check out ESPN Film's newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airwaves of ESPN Radio. That's 98.7 FM New York City. That's 710 ESPN LA. And, of course, nationwide over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, Sirius XM style, Channel 80. Number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Got a jam-packed show coming your way. The one and only Oscar De La Hoya, promoter extraordinaire, former 10-time world champion. He will be in the house with us at the top of hour number 2 to talk about this mega fight coming up in September. Saul Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G Gennady Golovkin, September 16th to be exact. Can't wait to talk to him about that, along with a few other things pertaining to the world of boxing. Got a lot of college football to get into. Got some NBA stuff to get into as well, because we're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers reportedly looking to shop their number one pick. I'm sorry, their first-round pick that could end up becoming the number one overall pick, because it was a pick that belonged to the Brooklyn Nets. And so ultimately it was in Boston's hands. Now it's in Cleveland's hands. And if Cleveland decides to get rid of it, particularly with Boston in position to have the number one overall pick. I'm sorry, with Brooklyn in position to have the number one overall pick, a pick they forfeited to Boston that now belongs to Cleveland. Cleveland could end up having the number one overall pick if they're willing to package that along with Kevin Love. What do you think they could get in return? What do you think they should get in return in order to let it go? We'll be talking about that as the show progresses today. But the first order of business is news that Andrew Luck is going to miss week 1. I could get into Aaron Donald and go off about how the Los Angeles Rams still haven't signed him, which is utterly ridiculous considering the fact that he's one of the top 10 players in the National Football League, and the fact that they still haven't gotten him signed is utterly ridiculous, but I won't get into that right now because I'm in a good mood. I could get into the New York Jets and how pathetic and anemic they appear to be at this particular moment in time. I mean, why the hell do you trade Sheldon Richardson to the Seattle Seahawks for a wide receiver when you don't have a damn quarterback to throw him the football? I could get into that as well, but I'm in a good mood. And I certainly don't want to just irritate myself to the point where I end up going absolutely positively ballistic because of it. I'm going to try to wait until I at least get into the heart of the show before I lose my damn mind. But as my producers, Miss Cat Pastor, the one and only Jonathan Winthrop would tell you, I am not in a very good mood when I consider the level of ineptitude that's raking through the NFL from coast to coast, evidently in New York and L.A. So I'm going to be patient. I'm going to hold off on going off about such things. And let me not front. It's not just that I'm patient. I also happen to be sick. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I got to just amp up the water and the hot tea and make sure I could protect my throat, because I got one of them damn sinus infections that's messing with my throat and making it scratchy and all of that other stuff. But I am here. Day after Labor Day. And thanks again to my man Dan Grassa for filling in yesterday for me as admirably as he always does, being a fantastic radio host that he is. But let me get back to this deal with Andrew Luck. See, ladies and gentlemen, when you consider the fact that Andrew Luck can't go for week 1, and you consider the fact that the Indianapolis Colts traded this wide outdoor set to the New England Patriots of all teams, okay, for Jacoby Brissett, a third-string quarterback who probably deserves to be a backup because he's good enough to do at least that, it gives you some indication of how tough things may be. It gives you some indication about where things may actually lie. And I say all of that to say to you, that tells me that Andrew Luck may not be ready to go. And it's going to be far beyond week 1. I just suspect that. You had the entire offseason to get ready for this season. You had the entire offseason. Last year he passed for over 4,200 yards, 31 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He didn't look like he was on suicide watch for a change because he wasn't being sacked to the degree that he had been sacked in years past. Andrew Luck has not played every game of his NFL career. In 5 years in the National Football League, he's been sacked 156 times. He's been hit about 400 times. This dude, because of Grigson, a former GM, and his inability to put a stout offensive line in front of Andrew Luck, has been on virtual suicide watch, for crying out loud. But somehow, some way, he's been upright enough to get to 3 playoff appearances, 3 consecutive 11-5 seasons his first 3 years in the National Football League. But right now, if you look at him, things are not great. Things are a bit tough. And the reality is that we don't know what the status of Andrew Luck may be moving forward. And if that's your situation, what do you do? And what do you think is going to happen in the AFC South? I, for one, think Houston's going to win the division. I believe that Deshaun Watson's going to do his thing. I take that back. It's a toss-up between Houston and Tennessee because I'm a Marcus Mariota fan. He's turned me into a fan. And I'm not ruling out anything with the Tennessee Titans. With DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry. With Mariota. I think that they can make some noise on the offensive side of the ball. Defense, they're not too shabby. Let's see what they do. And in the end, what it comes down to is plain and simple. Andrew Luck, his career might not be in jeopardy, but you know what? I suspect that 2017 may be. The 2017 season. I'm not ruling it out. I'm not being definitive about it, but I do think it's worth noting. 866-729-ESPN. That's 866-729-3776. Another thing I want to get into. I got to get into some college football. See, Sam Darnold wasn't that impressive to me for USC this weekend. Now, everybody want to talk about how Josh Rosen was so impressive. Ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't that damn impressive to me. And I like him. And I think he could play. And I like the battle that's going on in Los Angeles between Rosen and Darnold at UCLA and USC respectively. I really, really do. Because both of them are in the Heisman picture. And after Rosen threw for damn near 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, some would say he deserved it. To me, it wasn't that impressive. I saw at least 3 passes that should have been picked off. See, to me, the story behind it all, and it pains me to say it because I love this man. He's been a guest on this show. I love talking to him. I respect him. I think he's a hell of a coach, hell of a recruiter. But I got to look at Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M right now. Does he deserve to be fired? No. Does he deserve to be on a hot seat? And does the pressure need to be amped up for his team to show up and produce on his behalf? You're damn right it does. Ladies and gentlemen, this transcends college football. It transcends the SEC conference. You know where this resonates with me so profoundly? What the hell are you doing losing a 34-point lead with 16 minutes and 38 seconds? What the hell is that about? All you got to do is run the damn football, milk the clock. That's all you got to do. For about the 3rd or 4th consecutive year, Texas A&M's defense stinks. I don't give a damn what anybody say. You're up 44-10. 44. I don't care that your starting quarterback got hurt. I don't care. I don't care that this dude, Nick Starkel, got hurt. He's a redshirt freshman, for crying out loud. I don't care. You got spotted 34 points. Your defense should be able to hold on to that, especially in the final 16 minutes. But UCLA comes back and scores 35 unanswered points. Don't give me Josh Rosen. That's your defense. That's your defense. And it's coaching. Because run the damn football, take the air out of the ball, and call it a day. There's but so much time left. How do you let that happen? That's just how I feel about it. I noticed a few other things along the weekend for college football. Liberty beating Baylor. Ain't that some irony? Liberty beating Baylor. Religious school beating college football's definition of Satan. That's right, I said it. When you consider 52 different allegations of rape, when you consider the days of Dave Bliss, a former basketball coach who tried to frame one of his players in terms of labeling them a drug dealer to disguise the fact that he was paying them after one of his other players murdered that player. When you consider the history of Baylor, if there was a program that deserved a death penalty more, I want to know what it is. I want to know what it is. And somehow they lost to the religious right in college football, which is that of liberty. Ain't that something? I also saw HBCU, Howard University, led by Cam Newton's little brother. 45-point underdogs would still beat UNLV. Watched Florida State lose its quarterback. I watched Alabama roll as the Tide does. And I'm wondering why nobody's talking about Clemson. That's just me. 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show. ESPN Radio, back with your calls and more in a minute.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm recovering. I'm still getting over this sinus infection. It gave me a scratchy throat with mucus in my throat and all of this other stuff. So if I still sound a little bit different, I apologize. But I'm feeling a lot better than I did yesterday. I'm just trying to get my voice back. So I apologize if I don't sound like my typically passionate, loud self. But damn it, I give it to you in spots anyway. Anyway, I'm going to get into the Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs because we got an NFL season starting tonight. And that's really, really what I want to get to. It's just that this story in regards to Michael Bennett is unavoidable. We can't negate bringing this up. And let me also say this, forgive me for being Captain Obvious. Even though everybody's talking about the story, OTL, Outside the Lines, did it. First Take did it. Sports Center did it and all this other stuff. There ain't too many black nationally syndicated radio hosts in this country. I'm one of them. And there is simply no way in hell that something like this is going to happen and it's going to resonate throughout the sports community, and I'm not going to touch on that. I'm telling you that right now. There's just no way in hell that's going to happen. So it is what it is. I promise you we're going to talk a lot of football today because I want to get into a lot of football. But I got a lot of callers on the line, obviously, who want to speak on Michael Bennett. And I'm going to give some of them a chance to do just that, okay? So with that being said, since I am in Dallas today because we're doing First Take from Dallas tomorrow, let's go to Alonzo in Dallas. You're live with Stephen A. My brother, what's going on? How are you?
Hey, Stephen A., what's going on, man? And I follow you a lot on First Take, and I listen to your radio show every day. But I cringe.
Thank you.
But listen to me. I cringe every time you said what you said about Colin Kaepernick and how you were so forcefully and you were so passionate in pointing out he set for, he didn't vote. Let me tell you something. I am a United States Marine. I've been through 2 police academies. And how do you feel now? Because every time, I'm not watching no football, and I'm a diehard football fan. Like I said, I serve my country. But how do you feel now that Colin Kaepernick kneel to bring light to all this stuff that's going on to black people? I've been there. I've been on. Well,
you know what I don't like about what you're doing? I don't like you asking me questions and don't give me an opportunity to answer.
Okay, well,
if you're gonna ask me a question, if you want to speak, I'll let you speak. If you're gonna ask me a question, let me answer you, because my answer to you is gonna be, I don't feel any differently. I never had a problem with Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the national anthem. I was on Good Morning America and First Take and Sports Center and radio the very next day, coming to the complete support of him. The absolute only time I've spoken against Colin Kaepernick was when he talked about how he does not vote. And any black person that says they don't vote, I will speak exactly the same way. That is my position. There is nothing about it, Alonzo, that will ever change as long as I have breath in my body when it comes to voting. That's my position. But that's the only thing that I've ever said against Colin Kaepernick.
But you spoke so passionately about him not voting. But I didn't hear you speak so passionately about him.
That's not true.
And what he was
You have conjecture. I have tapes. I'm telling you, I spoke very passionately in support of him. I even went on Bill O'Reilly's show and spoke passionately on behalf of Colin Kaepernick's right to kneel for the national anthem. I went on Good Morning America with Robin Roberts and Michael Strahan. I went on First Take on my 2-hour show every weekday morning. Okay. And by the way, I did that on several occasions. I went on Sports Center and I did that with my man Jay Harris and Kevin Nagandi. I did that on Outside the Lines. Do you want more evidence? Why don't you Google it?
And you still was passionate about pointing out he didn't
Correct.
vote.
Correct.
But you didn't. I mean, what you should have continuously to do was bring awareness to what he was trying to bring awareness.
My brother, I disagree with you. I think I did do just that. I think I continue to do just that. As far as I'm concerned, your argument is an injustice to me. I have a 2-hour radio show every day. I have a 2-hour national television show. What the hell do you think I'd be talking about? There's been plenty of occasions without even having to mention Colin Kaepernick's name where I brought attention to what he brought attention to. We're talking about Michael Bennett now. That's yet another incident that brings attention to what Colin Kaepernick was bringing attention to. Colin Kaepernick is the first person to complain about racial prejudice and injustice. He isn't the first person that talked about police brutality. I was on Karen Hunter's show yesterday on Sirius XM, Urban View Radio on channel 126 on Sirius XM. She comes on from 3 to 6 every day. That's been my sister for over a quarter century. I was talking to her about it. I've talked to Joe Madison about this in the past on his show. He's on Morning Drive on the same channel. What are you talking about? Because I don't sit up there and mention Colin Kaepernick's name every day, you think that you suddenly have something on me that's factual evidence as to me not bringing attention and passion to this incident? I'm sorry, sir, you're factually incorrect. That is false.
I didn't say you didn't talk about it.
So you talk about the level, you're saying with the level of passion, but what I'm saying to you is if I've talked about it week after week after week after week after week, Colin Kaepernick kneeled, bro. And he kneeled for a few weeks. By the way, he opted out of his contract. And when he opted out of the contract and was looking for a new job, he said he wasn't going to kneel anymore. And he stood. And we were still talking about it. We've been talking about it for a year. What do you want me to do? Have the same decibel level every single day for every single show in order for you to recognize the passion and the attention that I'm willing to bring to it?
See, I just don't think that you were passionate about him kneeling.
I understand. I respect your opinion, but I'm telling you, you're factually wrong. I have facts, sir. I understand and respect your opinion, and I'm not trying to disrespect you in any way, Alonzo. You're a military man. You serve our country. You put your life on the line so people like me could be in the position that I'm in. I'm grateful to you, my brother. I thank you for that. But you are factually incorrect about this. That's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna keep listening to you. I'm gonna keep watching you.
I'm not worried about that. Listen.
And you know what? I'm gonna keep supporting you. But I just wanted to speak to you about that, man, because every time I hear you speak on Colin Kaepernick, you do bring out he didn't vote. I got a problem with it. But
I do. But I do. But I do. Think about what you're saying, man. You're trying to think about what you're saying, Alonzo, before I let you go. Think about what you're saying. Stephen A. Smith, the guy you watch on TV and listen to on radio, who you clearly have watched for years. I'm not out of pocket by assuming that. Am I correct?
You're correct.
All right. Now, this guy that you watch for years, you're trying to literally tell me that you've heard more passion from me about Colin Kaepernick not voting than you've heard about me, or from me rather, on a bevy of issues pertaining to the black community. Are you, with all due respect, my brother, are you insane? Are you insane? Where have you been? Come on now, you know better. I have a laundry list of history, of things attached to my history that I'm incredibly passionate about on behalf of African Americans in this country. I just happen to believe that when you are black and you don't vote, I don't really desire to hear from you when you announce to the world that you don't vote. Because that means to me, any change you talking about, you ain't serious about it. Because outside of dollars, nothing provokes change in this country. More so than voting. I stand by that. I will not change, Alonzo. I appreciate your call, though, and I thank you for your service to our country.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it! This is Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio. Always an honor and privilege to have my man on the line with me right now. Waking up early in L.A. in the morning drive. Host 710 ESPN L.A., of course, the one and only Keyshawn Johnson is live with me. What's going on, man? How you doing?
What's happening?
Talk to me about, obviously what's resonating in the news right now is what happened with Michael Bennett. When you saw that video of him being cuffed, laying on the ground, face down, etc., what kind of emotions jumped through your mind, Keyshawn?
It took me back to my upbringing here in Los Angeles and as a kid being put in that same position as Michael Bennett. As a teenager and as an early adult as well, you're at a party or you're out in a club, a mayhem breaks out, and then all of a sudden you are placed in handcuffs with a knee on your back, guns to your head, face down on the concrete. I've been there. So the only thing is, like I said to myself at the time, is, man, I just hope that this dude don't slip his finger and pop me right in my head. And that's what I look at. When I saw that, I'm like, man, people don't really understand that feeling unless you've actually been there and had handcuffs put on you to the point or where your fingertips are so numb that you think you're getting ready to lose your arms.
One of the things, Keyshawn, I've been saying all morning was this. It's not just about the police to me. It's also about the media at large. The manner in which black men are projected, and it's not just profiled, but projected to the masses. Somebody like myself and many, many others, we're loud, very passionate about things. We're considered angry. Other folks ain't considered angry. And I look at it from the perspective that when you think about the message that's been disseminated about black males, for example, to me, it's shocking. It's never that shocking, rather, that police officers may appear a bit fearful, in terms of being confronted by black men because of the imagery that's projected about us. To that, you say what?
I don't buy that. The reason I don't buy that they're fearful and all that, man, they the ones with the guns. Mm-hmm. They the ones with the guns. Why would you be afraid of us and you got guns? I mean, you train, right? You work out. At least police officers, by large, here in L.A., in Southern California, they're fit. They strong. They work out. They're in the gyms. They got muscles. They can. For the most part, I believe they can handle their own if they got into a tussle, with or without weapons. But you hear this excuse that they're afraid because you're bigger than them. That's not true. Man, there's some big police officers. I mean, there's some big dudes out here, Stephen. So when I hear that, I just basically smirk at it. I'm like, man, that's just a cop-out.
Well, I didn't mean it like – I totally agree with you, and I didn't mean it that way. What I'm talking about is just the imagery of black men in terms of the police officers aren't the only ones that are culpable. I think the media at large is culpable. That's where I was trying to get to in terms of how we're being projected. I think that has a lot to do with a lot of things, with a lot of encounters that we find ourselves in, because just like you, I too have been confronted on several occasions where I had the barrel of a gun pointing at me via a police officer.
Yeah, and that is true. You are rejected like that through the media sometimes. Some of the words that's used to describe, the person, he's really large, he's this. I mean, and so it could make people think a certain way. There's no question about it. But I think it's irresponsible when police officers put themselves in a position like that with civilians based on their interpretation of someone going to do something or some harm. Now, I also do understand that when things go, start to break out and things are kind of wild, that sometimes they want to get order. But come on. If the dude was just standing behind a trash can or hiding and just kind of saying, hey, I'm trying to get away like everybody else, you know the difference when you're a police officer. You know the difference between somebody that's doing a criminal act and somebody who's actually trying to protect themselves. At least I would know if I was a police officer.
Keyshawn, what were your thoughts about Roger Goodell and his reaction to all of this, how he stood behind Michael Bennett and talked about when he's one of the very best that exist in the NFL, and we support him wholeheartedly, the position that the NFL has taken. What has been your thoughts about that?
It's about time. It's about time that somebody of higher power in the NFL is stepping up and saying something from a protective side of an NFL player opposed to trying to condemn the guy. I mean, you know, this isn't the first time this has happened, but this is the first time that you've seen the commissioner, which is the face of the shield, step up in this type of situation and say, look, this is our guy. We with him. This is the first time. It's never happened before. Not in this situation. They usually just kind of sit back and they don't want to alienate anybody. But he stepped up. I got to take my hat off to him.
Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Let's transition to another off-the-field situation, unfortunately, the suspension of Ezekiel Elliott. Talk to me about that, what your thoughts are about that as it stands right now. He got suspended for 6 games. His appeal was heard. It was upheld. The suspension was upheld by arbitrator Harold Henderson, and as a result, he's now about to take this situation to federal court. What are your thoughts?
It's a little weird because if it's upheld, I don't understand how he gets to play in the game. That's the weird part about everything. If it's a 6-game suspension and it's upheld, I would think that he would miss week 1 to week 7. But apparently they missed some deadlines or something.
They missed the deadline.
He's able to play in this game on a nationally televised Sunday night NBC game when the ratings were down a year ago. Not that it really matters to the NFL because they did suspend Tom Brady for the first 4 years, and Tom Brady is bigger than Ezekiel Elliott to the NFL and to the TV ratings. But it's just weird how the ratings was down last year. Now, all of a sudden, Giants versus Cowboys, he's playing. Like, you hate to think, because the NFL is a money business, but you would hate to think that they intentionally missed the deadline after somebody said to them, yo, you do realize that we got the Cowboys and the Giants on Sunday night. It wouldn't be good if Zeke wasn't playing. That makes you think that. You understand what I'm saying, Stephen?
I totally get it. I totally get where you're coming from. I thought about it myself. I brought it up on my own a day or so ago. But let me tell you also this. On a more serious note, this isn't deflated footballs. Taking this to federal court and what have you. I don't know how Ezekiel Elliott wins in all of this. We all know that no matter what the judge rules, then the NFL will appeal if you speak against them. And as a result, it will end up going back to the courts and they'll defer to the collective bargaining agreement that empowers Roger Goodell to do what he wants to do. And this man is going to serve his 6 games. So unlike Tom Brady, Keyshawn, where you ended up, sitting the 4 games, but it was about deflated footballs. This is about domestic violence. I don't know how wise it is for Ezekiel Elliott to continue to drag this on. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think I would in that situation, but I certainly can understand that he thinks in his mind and his camp thinks that he's done nothing wrong and that the young lady is completely fabricating a story to the point that she wants to hurt him and ruin his career, and he doesn't want that smear on his name. But regardless of a domestic violence incident or anything else, in terms of that, people going to go with their first mindset, which is you were involved in domestic violence. Even though you said nothing happened and you didn't get charged, that happens. I got into an altercation a couple of years ago with my wife, and a third party called the police. And here in Southern California, in L.A., when the police come, somebody goes to jail. I never touched her. I never put a hand on her. But when they come in a dispute, somebody goes to jail and gets arrested. Well, guess what? They arrested me. To this day, when I speak on domestic violence or say something about it, the first thing you hear on Twitter, oh, what do you know? You beat up a girl. What are you talking about? I ain't touched my wife. But that is attached to your name. So I certainly can see how Zeke, much like Tom Brady, didn't want Deflategate attached to his name, Ezekiel Elliott probably doesn't want domestic violence attached to his name, so he's going to fight it at all costs.
Keyshawn Johnson right here with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Real quick before I let you get on out of here, the NFL season kicks off tonight. The reigning defending Super Bowl champion New England Patriots host the Kansas City Chiefs. How do you see this game unfolding?
You know, I picked New England, right? But I feel like Kansas City going to give them a run for their money because Brady has got to get used to playing with his new toys. His security blanket number one, Julian Edelman, is gone. He has security blanket number two in Rob Gronkowski, but he still got to understand Dorsett. He still got to kind of get into a rhythm with Brandon Cooks. And I just feel, for whatever reason, I just feel like Kansas City's not going to go away lightly. I know New England is picked by a lot of people to win the Super Bowl, go back to the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't just jump on that just fast. I got to see what it looks like.
Right now, if you had to sit up there and pick who the Super Bowl matchup is going to be between, what are the two teams that you'd have coming out of the AFC and the NFC?
I picked Pittsburgh because of Joe Hayden going over there to help their secondary, because Pittsburgh's secondary is ferocious. I mean, we already obviously know about the – huh?
I said atrocious, absolutely. I couldn't be happier that Joe Hayden's going to be there. Well, go ahead.
And then when you look at the offensive side of the ball for the three Bs, and they're fine. You know, Bell, Big Ben, and Brown, the defensive secondary got better. So I think I look for them to come out of the AFC because it's time for Mike Tomlin to go back to the Super Bowl and get another victory, or at least get back to the Super Bowl. And then Seattle. I mean, Atlanta's still there, but I think Seattle becomes a much better team when they picked up Sheldon Richardson from the Jets. I thought that now I think the defensive line is 1, 2, 3 in all of the National Football League, which says a lot because defensive football teams typically get to the Super Bowl and upset the offensive side of the ball, although a young Atlanta Falcons defense couldn't quite get it done late in the fourth quarter against the New England Patriots. The defense still played a pretty solid and sound game.
Key, always appreciate you, bro. Keep doing your thing, man. We'll talk soon.
Yes, sir.
No doubt.
Give Stephen A. piece of your mind.
He is sorry.
Call him weekdays from 1 till 3 Eastern.
I mean, just trash.
At 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it.
Appreciate my brother, Keyshawn Johnson, coming on, dropping knowledge the way that he does. Listen to him every morning, right here on 710 ESPN LA. Morning Drive. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, 866-729-3776. That's 866-SAY-ESPN. Before we get back to the calls, with everybody wanting to talk about Michael Bennett, let me touch on what Keyshawn said about the New England Patriots. He's not jumping on that bandwagon just yet. He's thinking about Pittsburgh. Here's why I'm not thinking about Pittsburgh. I love the fact that they got Joe Hayden. I suspect that he'll make a huge difference. I get it, and I know they like Artie Burns and what have you. I still got questions about their secondary. I still got questions about their ability to get at the quarterback, which means I got questions about them defensively. And what I mean by that is that, do I think they can beat anybody? Yes, I do, except New England. That's my issue with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I see them beating anybody but New England. And New England is who I expect to be there in the end, standing in their way. I expect an AFC Championship game, a revisit, a rematch. I also expect the game to be in Foxborough. Game was in Pittsburgh. Even though New England could still get it done, they'd be up against it. The fact that it'll be probably in Foxborough concerns me. I look at Oakland. Derek Carr's no joke. Oakland's defense stinks until I see otherwise. I look at Kansas City. Love Andy Reid. Love their defense. Alex Smith is a pedestrian. You know, there's nothing prolific or great about him. You hope he'll keep some mistakes at a minimum. That's about the best you can hope for. That's a problem. Denver, Trevor Siemian, am I really supposed to believe? And then you brought Brock Osweiler back. What was that, a family affair? There's no reason for Brock Osweiler to be back there. He left him high and dry. All I'm saying to you is that when you look at the teams in the AFC, and by the way, Tennessee should be on the come up this year with DeMarco Murray and Derrick Henry and Marcus Mariota, who doesn't get enough shine. Their defense is good, too. But do I think they're ready for prime time? I think they'll make the playoffs by winning the division, but I'm not sold. I'm not sold on Tennessee. Cincinnati might make the playoffs. Baltimore with Joe Flacco, I mean, come on now. It is what it is. Then the NFC, to me, it's about Atlanta and Seattle. Love me some Aaron Rodgers. He's a bad man. He really is. But I just don't know. Atlanta, Seattle. Those are the two teams. Eddie in Pennsylvania, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Eddie, go ahead.
Hello, Hello, Mr. Smith. How you doing, buddy?
I'm all right. Go ahead, buddy. Only got a couple of minutes. Go ahead.
All right. Well, one of the things is I'm a black man. I've been living up in PA about 25 years. I have never got pulled over. I have never had a problem before. All right.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And that's one of the things is, too, how you carry yourself and how things go. To me, okay, my girlfriend, she is white, too. And me being African, brother, I really don't have a problem with that. One of the things that we're doing is, if you looked at the statistics last year, there was more police officers that shot more white people than blacks. Okay, if you look at the statistics, and you see, I think it was over 2-something, and then it wound up being blacks, wound up being 100 and something, which shouldn't happen, which you know about. But also, too, in our inner cities where we're killing each other, kids can't even go to school. Grandparents can't go to the store. We have thousands and thousands where the drugs are killing our neighborhoods. Kids can't get the education. No one's talking about that. And that's one of the things. I understand with this shooting, it pulled over. But, brother, we're killing each other in our neighborhoods every day. And I guarantee you, you don't live. Like, I left mine 25 years ago because it was crazy. It was breaking in doors, robbing you. Okay, my car sold. All right? And I guarantee where you live at today, brother, you live in a white neighborhood. You're not living in that inner city. You're not living in that bad neighborhood. But we're killing each other.
Well, I got you.
Talking about that,
we're running out of time. Let me say this to you. I'd love to disagree with you, but I can't. Because you're absolutely right. You're talking about accountability. That doesn't absolve others from the transgressions they commit. But I don't have any problem with you talking about black accountability. There's no question about that. You're not wrong. Hour number 2 up next.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 80 and the ESPN app.
Check out ESPN Films' newly released 30 for 30 podcasts. From the producers of our award-winning documentary series, this is an amazing collection of sports stories you need to hear to believe. Speaking of amazing, Delta Airlines and the Fly Delta app make your travel experience amazingly easy with real-time bag tracking, e-boarding, and passport scanning during check-in. And don't forget to download 30 for 30 podcasts to fill your flight with stories that will keep you coming back for more.
This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A. To go a little bit further into the NFL season, as this season gets ready to begin, because we're talking about the New England Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs. I expect New England to win the game tonight. The ring ceremony, celebrating their Super Bowl title, going up against Kansas City. It's in Foxborough, and on top of it all, let's also take into consideration this reality. Last year, this time, Tom Brady was suspended for 4 games. Roger Goodell is going to be in attendance. He's going to be chided and derided by fans. Tom Brady's going to put on a show. They're going to be anxious to put on a show. And I think they're going to be highly motivated to perform on this particular evening. And I think they will. I think they beat Kansas City tonight. I said, and I'll reiterate again, the two games to watch are the Giants, Cowboys, and Seattle, Green Bay on Sunday. Philly and Washington is a good one within the NFC East as well. Let's see what Kirk Cousins does. But I'll also tell you that the team to watch for me is Seattle and Atlanta. I don't see anybody overcoming both of them within the NFC conference. I just don't see it. But we've been talking about that. We'll continue to talk about that. Plus, we'll continue talking about Michael Bennett and what happened with him when he was arrested and thrown to the ground and knee in his back and all this other stuff. Cop pointing at him, saying he'll blow his effing head off if he moves, et cetera, et cetera. It's very uncomfortable to watch. It's uncomfortable watching Martellus Bennett, his brother, crying, talking about his brother Michael. He's lucky to be here. But the caller that just called Eddie from Philadelphia, he made valid points. And I've said it on many, many occasions in the show. Listen, nobody gets absolved. No police officer gets absolved from acts of brutality, excessive force. Hell no. There's no doubt about that. And the media doesn't get absolved either from adopting the position of, portraying black men as individuals to be fearful of. That doesn't happen either. But I will tell you this. It's very, very important to recognize. Eddie in Pennsylvania wasn't completely wrong. Because one has nothing to do with the other, and that's very, very, very true in my opinion. But the flip side is that just as much noise as a community as we make about actions on the parts of police officers and law enforcement officials, we need to be just as loquacious, just as vociferous, just as outspoken about crime existing and emanating from our own community. We can tackle both. We can tackle all those issues. We don't get to absolve ourselves while pointing the fingers at other people, while not embracing what our own plight is. We got a whole bunch of black folks killing black folks. By the way, there's a whole bunch of white folks killing white folks. There's a whole bunch of Hispanic folks killing Hispanics. People tend to harm those who are within their same community. But it's a numbers game too. Because when you're not even a dominant minority any longer and you only make up 13% of the population, killings in your community are going to be more pronounced than it is in a community where it's 66% of you that exist in the United States of America as opposed to 13%. It's a numbers game. Losses with the 13% are more profound than losses amongst the 66%. That's the reality we have to accept and tackle and conquer. 866-729-ESPN. That's always the number to call up. That's 866-729-3776. Let's go to Louis in Texas. You're live with Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. What's up, Louis? How are you?
Doing good, Stephen A. Smith. Thank you for taking my call.
No
first off, really quickly, welcome to Texas, brother. I know you get a lot of flack when you come to Texas, but welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here. It ain't no flack to me. I'm loving it. I'm glad I'm here.
Nice. But I just want to make two small comments regarding the Bennett situation. I just hope that this whole situation rings a bell for all of the NFL owners, all of the people that were giving Colin Kaepernick flack about why he was bringing to light or the subject matter of what he was doing. I hope it just resonates. I hope it hits home for them. My second point regarding Ezekiel Elliott is if he was really, I always like to give people the benefit of the doubt, but if he was really innocent and all, the female was lying, et cetera, et cetera.
If who was really innocent? If who were really innocent?
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Ezekiel Elliott. Like if these charges or these allegations were completely false, then don't you think by now his lawyer team would have suggested to countersue for defamation of character, for slander, for intentional tort? I mean,
you can look at that, but the point is that that's not what he's fighting. You have to remember why. He's not fighting that because the cops didn't arrest him, the DA didn't prosecute him. This is an issue of the National Football League and the National Football League doing its own investigation and essentially accusing you of conduct detrimental to the league. See, they stopped shy of flat out accusing you of doing anything. They said that the evidence deduced translates into it being more probable than not that you may have done this based on their investigation, which included his testimony, his lack of cooperation on the part of his representatives. It included her supposed lies as well. So when you take all of those things into consideration, the NFL essentially is saying is it's more probable than not. And I think that they were a bit excessive in that regard. But the flip side is that it's perfectly within Commissioner Roger Goodell's right to do just that as the commissioner of the Football League, because it was a power granted to him by the Players Association during collective bargaining.
That's right. Okay, yeah. And my last point is, when is your radio show going to end up on ESPN 2 or ESPN News, like the Dan Le Batard Show and Ryan Russillo? I'm waiting for that, brother. When is that going to happen?
I don't know. I'm in no rush. I got enough airtime. Haven't you noticed? Between First Take, Sports Center, now boxing, plus my national radio show. I mean, damn, how much more airtime do I need? Can I get to sleep a little bit? Can I get to sleep a little bit? Relax a little bit? All this other stuff. We were just joking. I was just joking with my producers, Louis. I got producers flying out here. One of my producers, Nuno Texiera, he's flying out here. He's off for the day. How come I don't get any days off when I travel? Don't you see me on TV and then I'm in a different city the very next day on TV?
You're right. We'll let you get by with a little R&R, brother.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Let's go to Lisa in Georgia. You're live with Stephen A. Lisa, how are you, my dear?
How you doing, Steve? How you doing?
I'm okay. What's going on?
Listen, I just wanted to give you my perspective on the whole Michael Bennett.
Please, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I have 2 young boys, and it's very much alive here in Georgia. I have to sit them down at the age of 20 and explain to them, even after graduating, you have to be, and trying to be a productive citizen and have a job, you're still different. And I have to let them know, if they're stopped somewhere on a dark road or anything, you call 911 and tell 911 and let them know, so that they're going to a lidded or a place where there's a lot of light. So nothing like this would happen. If it can happen to Michael, can you imagine 2 young black men in Georgia, outside of Atlanta, down further south, how it goes? As a mother, you have to tell your children that it's real, Steve. And it's sad that this day and time that we're still dealing with these issues.
I agree. There's no way around it. And as a mother, I'm quite sure your concerns are incredibly profound. There's no way around this. It's very unfortunate. Here's my only issue. And see, I'm totally with you. My only issue is that when folks sound like it's new, it's not new. We come out the womb having to deal with this stuff. And as a result of that reality, instead of of course we bring it up, Lisa, and we should always bring it up, and we should always knock down every barrier we can. But in the process, we have to simultaneously prepare ourselves for the what-if situations. Because the what-if situations, unfortunately, at some moment in time, does present itself. And how prepared are you? Chance favors the prepared mind. It's being prepared. It's understanding what the obstacles are, what you're working against, and dealing with it from a realistic perspective as from a hopeful perspective. And that's the only thing that I would say to that, Lisa.
I have one more thing to say. Earlier this morning, I was listening to the same station, and someone spoke and said all they could do, 82 or something like that, the station, 82, the Mad Dog Sport, a statement was made, said the advice he would give to young black men is to lay down, be quiet, and follow the instructions. And they went to laughing about that. So just as well as you are expressing the wrong of it, we still have ignorant individuals taking it as a joke, saying that's why nothing happened to Michael. It's because he did follow instructions with a gun at the back of his head and a knee in the back.
Well, my response to that, Lisa, is I don't know who said that. Which one of my contemporaries in this business said that. I would tell you that it's no laughing matter, and I would have a problem with them if they were laughing about it. But at the same time, devoid of their laughter, taking that out of the equation, let's also acknowledge the fact that there is some truth to that in this respect. A lot of times you got to make sure that you can. And I'm not accusing us as black people of doing that. What I'm saying is it doesn't apply. It applies to everybody. If a police officer, a law enforcement official approaches you, follow instructions, because more likely than not, they have the gun. You don't. And always they have the authority. And the objective and the goal at hand should be living through the moment so you can fight another day, as opposed to reacting in some kind of way that gives them an excuse, albeit it never really is one, giving them an excuse to sit up there and do you some very, very serious harm. We have to be mindful of that and those challenges. Lisa, I thank you for your call. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Catch the Stephen A. Smith Show live on 98.7 ESPN New York, ESPN LA 710, and Sirius XM Channel 80.
You just can't make this stuff up.
Weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Terrence, you're live at Stephen A. on ESPN Radio. Talk to me, Terrence. How are you?
How you doing, Stephen A?
I'm doing all right. Talk to me, man. What's up?
Okay, I want to make a comment.
No, not you. I'm talking to my producers. I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I want to make a comment about the Michael Bennett situation. I think it's sad in this country that we're still going through this, and people don't realize, are not awake to what's going on. I say that to say this. I have a friend who lives near Myrtle Beach, and she was on Myrtle Beach last weekend because her nephew had a birthday. And she's walking on the strip, and she saw a guy, who rode past her a couple times, just driving on the strip, not doing anything. And he gets pulled over by the police. And as the police was trying to pull him over, they turn on the lights and sirens. As they pull him over, he yells out his window, "I'm driving down this road, I'm going to pull over in the parking lot," because he didn't want to pull over on the main strip. And he was blasting his music. And she said, as he turned down the street, she heard his music go off, and then she heard like 6 or 7 gunfires. Shot. Come to find out, the guy got shot and killed because the police, I guess, had gotten had gotten a report that somebody that was driving a white Cadillac had tried to hit a security guard. Well, the guy that they killed was actually driving a Jaguar, a white Jaguar, the same color. But even if he was the man that, almost hit a security guard,
What happened to arresting them? See, listen, like I said, we all know, we don't need to go into but too many details. We all know what time it is. When you have a white Uber driver that runs around in Michigan and shoots 6 different people and he gets arrested, but somehow black folks end up getting shot, we got a problem. But at the same time, Eddie in Pennsylvania makes a valid point that we need to be just as outspoken about crime within our own community, black on black crime. You have people in Chicago calling for the National Guard to intervene. That's how bad it's been. Black people calling for the National Guard to intervene because they were that fearful. That's a problem. And so, again, we can lament situations, but I don't want to go into all of those details because we understand it. I appreciate the story, and I thank you for it, Terrence. I truly do. But we don't need to go into all of those things. Of course, there are incidences of brutality on the part of police officers, and we should never forget those, and we should bring those up. We got it. But if we're going to bring it up, we got to bring up everything. Because what we can't do is give the masses the reason to believe that all we're concerned about is crimes that other people commit against us and not the crimes we commit against ourselves too. We have an obligation to bring it all up and address it all. That's all I'm saying. Have a good day, Terrence. Lavelle in Florida, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Steve, how you doing?
I'm all right. Go ahead, my brother. You're on the air.
Yeah, first of all, I was born in Chicago, raised in Cabrini Green. And I was taught to respect the police and fear them by my parents. So whenever I deal with cops, I deal with them with that aspect of respect and fear. So one time, now I'm in the Navy now. This is years later. I'm in the Navy. I get pulled over. I'm stationed in Maine. I get pulled over. I'm in a decked out car, whatever. And when the cop pulled me over, he flashed his white lights we're facing each other. He flashes his
bright lights and sees me. He makes a U-turn, puts on his bearings. So I put on my hazards, and I drive another maybe 10 seconds to pull into this lit gas station. Before I can get there, 2 other cops come over. So I instantly roll down my window, turn off my car, and I stick my hands out of the window with my keys in my hand. The cop gets out with his gun drawn. Other cops get out with their gun drawn. Now they're giving me commands. Get driver, get out. So I get out. The guy comes up. He instantly starts handcuffing me. Hasn't said anything. Instantly starts handcuffing me. The other cop says, "What did he do?" And that's when the cop realized I didn't do anything. He paused, and then I thought, "Man, what did I do?" But I didn't say anything, So now they're talking, and finally I asked him, "Well, what did I do?" He said I was driving in an area that was known for drugs, and because I was black, maybe I'm a drug dealer, and basically he just pulled me over for that.
Again, listen, I'm not going to sit up there and continue to take calls for incident by incident. I respect where you're coming from. We know that these problems exist, but we also have situations where Freddie Gray in Baltimore, those were black police, or some of those were black police officers that were involved in that. We got Michael Bennett. Those were Latino police officers. See, this is what I'm talking about, because ultimately what it comes down to is how black men are being portrayed to the masses. That's what it comes down to. And we got to address that. But guess what? We don't address it by just picking out incidences like that and ignoring our own culpability in the process. We have to take it all in. And that's what we have to do.
Guess what? You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it. Hey, y'all, list about my playoff teams right now. Let me get this out of the way right now. In the AFC, I got New England winning the AFC East. I got Pittsburgh winning the AFC North. What is that noise? Can we turn that off, please? Thank you. I got the New England Patriots winning the AFC East. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers winning the AFC North. I've got the Tennessee Titans with Marcus Mariota, who isn't getting nearly as much love as he should get, winning the AFC South. And I got the Oakland Raiders winning the AFC West. My wild card teams are going to be the Kansas City Chiefs because of the coaching of Andy Reid, along with their defense. I'm not sold on Alex Smith come playoff time, but can he do enough to get you to the playoffs? Yes, he can. I think Kansas City will get to the playoffs as a wild card spot. And I think who else is going to get there, unfortunately, is the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think Miami's the same. Don't tell me that Jay Cutler is going to do it for them. I don't believe it. Buffalo, I'm not sold. Jets, don't get me started. I like McCagnon a lot. I like Todd Bowles a lot. I hope they survive. I don't know what the hell's happened, the way they had to purge their roster and all of this. I don't understand what the hell's going on. I don't understand how you let go of a Sheldon Richardson and let him get to Seattle and you bring in a wide receiver when you don't have a quarterback to throw in the football. Don't give me Josh McCown. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So for me, it resonates with me from the standpoint that I got to look at it and say, all right, nobody's coming from there to the playoffs. In the South, Houston, eventually Deshaun Watson's going to be the quarterback. Their defense is big time. I think they'll challenge Tennessee. I think the Colts are fading. Andrew Luck, I don't know what the hell is going on with his health. And Jacksonville, don't even get me started. And it's bad enough you damn near can't play. You certainly can't win. But now you got Tom Coughlin pleading the fifth when it comes to Colin Kaepernick. What's that about? And then in the West, San Diego's playing the Los Angeles Chargers. Who the hell got them to play in a 27,000-seat stadium for the next couple of years? Who the hell? Well, who was that suggested by? This is football, man. That's just a bigger basketball arena they playing in right now. I can't believe it. That and the Denver Broncos. Look, I think Von Miller and those boys on the defensive side of the ball are going to be good. My issue, however, is their offense. Trevor Siemian is your quarterback. And then you brought back Brock Osweiler. Is that supposed to instill confidence in anybody? I'm not buying that. Not buying it. So that's just where I'm at with it. And then it goes to the AFC North. I know Cleveland's not ready. I want to pick Baltimore, but Flacco's been injured, and I don't know about the offensive squad. So I got to go with Cincinnati, who always has talent. They just implode mentally and stuff like that. It's not that they can't play. They can play and they can win football games. They'll get to the playoffs. I just think they implode, and that's the issue. That's just me. Cincinnati, Kansas City, wild cards in the AFC. In the NFC, I got the Giants winning the NFC East, the Packers winning the NFC North, the Falcons winning the NFC South, Seattle winning the NFC West. My wild cards are going to be the Dallas Cowboys. As sickening as it is for me to say that. The Dallas Cowboys. And Cam Newton and the Carolina Panthers. That Christian McCaffrey pick, number 8 overall, I love it. Because I think he's all-purpose. He could do it. And on top of it all, I think that takes pressure off of Cam Newton. Physically more so than anything else. Tampa Bay to me is a year away. I think they're going to be big time. Just not there yet. Detroit, added pressure on Matt Stafford because he's the highest paid player in football. I don't think they have enough. Minnesota, you have Sam Bradford, your quarterback. I'm not feeling it. Chicago ain't worth talking about. And in the NFC, look, the Eagles can be a sleeper. I know this. I just think the Giants and the Cowboys are better, but the Eagles could be a sleeper. My issue with the Eagles is Carson Wentz lost his favorite weapon in Jordan Matthews, who wasn't really a number 1, but I thought he was a big number 2. Playing number 1, which is a problem. Alshon Jeffrey can ball. He's looking for a new contract. I think chemistry issues come into play there. I think the combination of Jeffries and Torrey Smith, I don't like it. Brent Selleck, Zach Ertz, I don't know what happened to them at the tight end spot for Philadelphia. I don't know what kind of year they've had. I don't know what was up with them last year. We shall see. My wild cards there will be Dallas and Carolina. Arizona, I used to love Bruce Arians. I still respect the hell out of him. Something's missing. Derek Johnson's no joke. Maybe it's Carson Palmer that has me a bit leery. I don't know. But that's what it is for me. You've heard my picks for the playoff teams within both conferences. Back to the phones we go at 866-729-ESPN, 866-729-3776. Let's go to DJ in Pasadena. Go ahead real quick, buddy.
Stephen A., what's happening, bro? Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm taking issue with the fact that you want to talk about Colin Kaepernick not voting. And I'm kind of at odds with that because
hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean? I want to talk about it? Actually, I didn't bring it up until anybody asked me. I said that stuff months ago.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Okay. Well, that's not the issue. The issue is our votes don't count. Mm-hmm. The fact that the Electoral College is the one that elects the president, and we vote our votes go to the political. To the popular vote. Our votes don't count.
Do me a favor.
Our votes don't count. I can see where Kaepernick won't vote.
I need you. I'm gonna ask you for a personal favor. I'm asking for a personal. No. I'm gonna ask you for a personal favor because I've talked enough about this, and I'm not gonna go ad nauseum. I'm going to refer you to my man Joe Madison in the morning, Urban View Channel 126, 6 to 10 a.m. I'm going to refer you to Karen Hunter, who comes on to 3 to 6 on the same channel. Call either of those shows. Specifically tell them I asked you to call them and tell them exactly what you told me. And when they give you their answer, you call me back and I will put you right on. You have my word.
Okay.
Just promise me you're gonna do it. Just promise me you're gonna do it. Because I'm telling you.
That number again.
No. When you call them, when you call them and tell them that, they're going to tell you, they're going to answer your question far more in depth than I can. Because I've explained this ad nauseum. Your 2 million less black folks showed up to vote for Hillary Clinton and showed up to vote for Barack Obama. Had you listened to our 44th president, Barack Obama, when he told you don't boo, vote, go out there and vote. Had those 2 million people showed up, Hillary Clinton would have won the election, even though she won a popular vote. The point is, those votes would have counted in the areas that matter. If you don't know the game, you have an excuse. When you know the game and you know how it's played, you don't get to piggyback on that excuse when it doesn't work for you if you didn't exercise the power that you have. The fact of the matter is that we all know The Electoral College vote applies to the presidency. Has nothing to do with gubernatorial, mayorals, city councilmen, state attorney generals, senators, congressmen, etc. We ain't voting there either. Has nothing to do with that. And that ain't no electoral college vote. You're only talking about the presidency. And with the presidency, if you know where the game is played, and you know what areas matter and where it really, really counts, you had an opportunity to influence it, and you didn't do it. There are no excuses. No excuses. Now, I ain't got time to get into that now. Do what I asked you to do and call me back, and I'll put you right on the air. Roger in Ohio. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A., it's an honor to talk to you. Real quick, my issue is with the NFL because the statement that Roger Goodell released today is disingenuous and hypocritical. And there's 3 points that point out to me that I'm struggling.
I need you to speak up because my listeners can barely hear you. I need you to talk louder.
Okay, I apologize. My problem with Roger Goodell and the statement that he made in that Michael Bennett represents all that what is best of the NFL, being a victim of the very issue that Colin Kaepernick is protesting, and you not being proactive when you have over 60% African Americans playing football in your league who are ultimately, as Michael Bennett proved, affected by this very issue. Now, when you're paying these many people, when you're paying this kind of money, you know, and people don't.
I need you to get to your point much quicker because let me tell you something. Your voice sounds terrible. You sound too low, and people can barely hear you. I'm not going to keep you on much longer, bro. So go ahead, real quick. Now I understand your point. All right, I got you. Well, listen, let's call back tomorrow when we have more time and we can hear you better. Roger Goodell, I have no problem with his statement because his statement was saying that everybody needs to get involved. And Michael Bennett is a member of our community who carries himself in a very upstanding fashion and should not have had to be subjected to this. And the fact that he was subjected to this should be alarming to us all. That's essentially what Roger Goodell said. To find a problem with it, that's us wanting everybody to do everything. Everybody's not going to do everything, and everybody's not going to do everything we agree with. And by the way, if you're black in America, stop expecting white folks to have the same sensibilities that you have about black issues. Compassion, yes. Understanding, yes. Empathy, yes. A willingness to do something about it to assist you and us in our plight, sure. But stop expecting folks who are not black to be as sensitive to black issues as we are. No matter how much my heart goes out to folks. For example, within the Hispanic community, guess what? I'm not Hispanic. No matter how sensitive I am, I'm not going to feel what they feel because I'm not them. Now, if I do nothing and I don't care and I'm insensitive and I lack empathy and sympathy, that's different. But if my heart's in the right place and I'm trying to do it, but I just don't share the same level of sensitivity that you do, get over it. If I'm not you, how can I? With our president sitting up there and giving the Congress 6 months to fix DACA or else nearly 800,000 immigrants, children could potentially be deported. How can our hearts not go out to them? How can we not have empathy and sympathy? How can we not? Of course we do. But do you think it's to the same level as the people who are going through it? No, because we're not them. Stop acting like everybody is supposed to be us. It doesn't work that way. Just hope they're conscientious enough with God in their hearts to do the right things. Stop trying to make people us when they're not. Just like we can't be them. If you ain't an immigrant, you don't feel it as much as the immigrants feel it. Period. No matter how sensitive and God-fearing and God-loving you are, and loving humanity and human beings, you don't feel it like they do because you're not them. If you are white, I don't expect you to feel what I feel as a black man. It's not fair to people to expect that of them. It just isn't.
Want to be a part of the show? Hit Stephen A. up weekdays from 1 to 3 Eastern at 866-729-3776.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Sharon in Dallas, you're live with Stephen A. Good afternoon.
Stephen A., thank you. Stephen A., thank you so much for taking my call. I appreciate it. Welcome to Dallas, Texas. I just wanted to say quickly to Louis from Dallas, Texas, he's wrong. I listen to your show every chance I get, and you're passionate about everything you talk about. You're passionate about Colin on his knee. You're passionate about Colin and not voting. Louis is wrong, and he does not speak for Dallas, Texas.
Well. In fairness to Louis, though, he is serving in our military. He could have had a lot of responsibilities and may have missed me from time to time, Sharon. So let's cut a guy that's representing our country and fighting on our behalf. Let's cut him some slack.
I'm going to cut him some slack, Stephen A., but he cannot get on the air and point fingers when he needs to check his facts first, because you do an amazing job, and we love you, and we appreciate everything you talk about. All your subjects are amazing, and you're passionate about every subject.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know I do, girl. You know I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Are you coming down? Are you coming to Fort Worth to see us tomorrow? Sharon dropped. Thank you, Sharon. CJ and San Fran, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me real quick, buddy. Go ahead.
Stephen A., first-time caller, long-time listener. I just want to weigh in from a different perspective, from a corporate perspective. As I've worked my way up, Silicon Valley and many of the tech companies, and that's a whole other topic in terms of inclusion of minorities there. But my experience with racism has been a little bit different.
CJ, you dropping. I'm sorry. I got to go. Your signal is terrible. Oh, man, I apologize. Ramondo in Venice, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Ramondo, go ahead.
13 plus years in the prison system, Stephen A. And what they do in there when they...
So, no, stop. What did you say?
13 plus years in the prison system.
Okay, go ahead.
What they do in there, this is about the police. What they do in there when they get a 911 call, they dispatch to the ethnicity in the problem. This is what it's going to come down to out here, where people are going to have to start tapering 911 calls. What ethnicity is fighting? This is what they do to stop their officers from getting hurt, stop the lawsuits. But you know what? It's getting ridiculous out here, and this is what saved the prison system, where segregation is alive and well. So is racism. I don't care what anybody says. It's there. I've seen it. I've lived through it. It's horrible. It's a different planet. But you know what, though? They changed that because people want to deal with their own kind. I know it sounds bad, but they feel more comfortable. It's getting the same out here. It's no different.
Got you. I appreciate the call. Can't argue with that point. Steve in New York, you're live with Stephen A. You only got a minute, buddy. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Hey, what's up, Stephen A.? I just have a problem with the final quarter of the last hour. I think everything he said, he used to discredit what the African-American community is saying what's wrong with policing in America. He used the talking points that, like, for instance, there are more whites that get killed by police. Well, there are more whites in this country. Also, I thought that...
Which I pointed out. Go ahead.
African-American community, black-on-black crime, to policing, killing people, you're trying to discredit what we're talking about.
No. That's not. No, you're wrong. That's not what he was doing. He's not comparing it.
I believe he was. I mean,
but he's not comparing it. What he's saying is that amongst ourselves, we have to face that reality, because that's a huge problem. It's not to absolve police. It's not to ignore that issue. But we cannot sit around and just pick apart that issue and not talk about what we need to do amongst ourselves and for ourselves. We have to do it all. We have to do it all. And I don't think he's wrong for bringing that up. Go ahead.
What we're saying.
Excuse me?
I said, when we're talking about this issue and you bring up that issue, it's almost like you're discrediting what we're
Well, I'm not.
talking about.
I only got 10 seconds. That's not true. Call me back tomorrow and we'll tackle that issue, because you're wrong. Talk to you in 22 hours from now. Peace and love, everybody.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show.